Hey everyone, welcome back to the Incredible India podcast series. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a truly extraordinary story, the legacy of the Mysore Kingdom. Our central question for this exploration: how did this princely state, long before India's independence, actually become a blueprint for modern India? We're going to uncover some fascinating insights, drawing from Mysore, pioneering legacy of democratic governance and welfare by 5 census tours. Even Mahatma Gandhi called it Model Mysore, saying it was worthy of emulation. And we're about to find out why. We'll look at Mysore's pioneering efforts in, well, democratic institutions, comprehensive welfare, and some pretty remarkable industrial development.
It really is a powerful example. Visionary leadership, you could say, laying foundations that still resonate today, the foresight involved in what they established. It's quite something.
It certainly is, and it's kind of surprising, isn't it, realizing Mysore was this beacon of progressive governance way before India's independence. Take, for instance, the Mysore Representative Assembly, established in 1881 by Maharaja Chamaraja Wadiyar X. This wasn't just groundbreaking. It actually came before the Indian National Congress, 4 years before.
That's right.
And the Maharaja's core belief was, well, profound. The interests of the government are identical with those of the people.
A powerful statement for the time.
He acted on it too. Just days into his rule, August 25th, 1881, he issued an order. He wanted government measures to be better known and appreciated by the people for whose benefit they are intended.
Which was a really radical departure from the usual autocratic rule back then.
Definitely.
And one really striking aspect of this, I think, was how it truly represented a kind of bottom-up approach to governance. It wasn't power dictated from the top down. It was about deliberately, integrating the people's voice into the state machinery.
Right.
That level of forward thinking, especially in princely India during that era, was almost, well, unprecedented. It set a precedent for participatory democracy, not just within Mysore, but potentially as a model elsewhere, too.
And they didn't just stop there, did they? The vision kept evolving.
No, exactly.
Under Maharaja Nalvadi Krishnaraja Wadiyar IV, who reigned from 1902 to 1940, the system expanded significantly. He built it to a sophisticated bicameral legislature, a two-house system, like many modern democracies use today, for checks and balances.
Right, that was a crucial step.
So in 1907, the Mysore Legislative Council was set up as the upper house.
Transforming the single chamber into a more comprehensive two-house system. This expansion was really key for creating a more robust, more balanced structure. The Mysore Representative Assembly, acting as the lower house, started with, I think, 144 members and grew to 250 by 1923.
Wow, quite an expansion.
Yeah, making sure it represented diverse groups, urban, rural, even special interests. And then the Legislative Council, the upper house, it started smaller, 15 members, expanded to 50 by 1923. It included elected and nominated members from universities, trade, labor, bringing in that specialized expertise.
And this wasn't just for show, right? It became formalized, powerful. The Government of Mysore Act of 1923 really cemented these democratic institutions, gave them real teeth. We're talking about the power to discuss and approve the budget that actually came in earlier, 1914.
Yes.
And by 1923, they could vote on grants, even cut motions to, reduce government spending.
Real financial oversight.
And get this detail, it really shows their commitment. Bills had to pass through the Representative Assembly first, before they even went to the Legislative Council.
Which gave the people's representatives real power to shape legislation from the start.
Exactly. Bottom-up governance in action.
Precisely. And what's particularly noteworthy, I think, is how this constitutional government came about. It seems to have emerged from the spontaneous desire of the rulers themselves to share power. They voluntarily limited their own authority.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, because usually democratic institutions emerge from conflict, right? Or revolution.
Yeah.
Not often from the ruler just deciding to do it.
So Mysore was different.
Very different. An outlier in the best possible way. It really highlights a unique vision from the Wadiyar dynasty.
A voluntary sharing of power. Incredible. Did this spirit extend beyond the central legislature? Did it reach local levels?
Oh, absolutely. Mysore also pioneered decentralized governance. They had this multi-tiered system bringing decisions closer to the people.
How did that work?
Well, they set up bodies like district and taluk boards, think regional councils. These had significant autonomy for local administration. Communities could directly address their own regional concerns.
Makes sense.
And then in cities like Mysore and Bangalore, you had elected municipal councils managing sanitation, water, urban planning, all that.
And at the village level.
Village panchayats, local councils, but crucially, headed by elected members, not just appointed officials. They handled grassroots issues.
This multi-layered system, it really suggests a lot of political maturity accommodating different viewpoints.
It does. It fostered genuine political pluralism. You had multiple political parties operating openly. Well, there was the Praja Mitra Mandali from 1917, pushing for equal representation for different castes. Then the Praja Paksha in 1930 focused on broader inclusion. And here's an interesting little fact.
What?
The practice of walkouts from the assembly as a form of protest, it actually started in Mysore.
Really?
Yeah, it shows an impressive tolerance for dissent, for democratic protests that was, well, way ahead of its time.
Okay, so governance was clearly forward-thinking. But this progressive spirit wasn't just limited to politics, was it? Mysore had big industrial ambitions, too.
Definitely. They had a grand vision for industrialization. A key example is the Mysore Iron and Steel Works at Bhadravati, started in 1918.
Ah, yes, guided by the legendary Sir M. Visvesvaraya.
The very same. It became India's first major indigenous steel production facility, a huge undertaking.
And crucial for self-sufficiency, I imagine.
Absolutely. It started as the Mysore Wood Distillation and Iron Works. By 1923, it was producing pig iron, about 60 tons a day. And interestingly, it used charcoal from local forests. Shows an early kind of environmental awareness, perhaps, plus it created thousands of jobs.
A big boost to the local economy.
And it didn't stand still, it kept evolving.
Right, you mentioned evolution earlier.
Yeah, they added a cast iron pipe plant in 27, an open hearth furnace. And then, this is quite advanced for the time, electric pig iron smelting in 1952.
India's first electricity-powered iron smelting.
That's right. But it wasn't just heavy industry. Mysore also dominated another market globally.
Sandalwood.
Exactly. The Mysore Sandalwood Oil Factory, set up in 1916, was the world's first scientific distillation facility for sandalwood oil. And what's really insightful here is they weren't just exporting raw wood, they focused on value addition, on scientific innovation in industry. That's pioneering.
Smart.
Very. It brought in significant revenue, around 150,000 rupees annually back in the mid-19th century, and prices soared before World War I. The state actually maintained a monopoly. This wasn't just for profit, but also for quality control and, crucially, sustainable harvesting, protecting the resource long term.
So, steel, sandalwood. They clearly understood the need for diverse economic engines. Not just heavy industry, but leveraging unique natural resources, too.
Precisely.
And it went beyond that, didn't it? They nurtured traditional strengths like Mysore silk, famous even today.
Right, and coffee plantations with modern processing, even efficient gold mining at Kolar goldfields.
And on the modern infrastructure side.
Well, they launched the State Bank of Mysore in 1913, developed India's first major hydroelectric project at Shivanasamudra way back in 1899.
Wow, 1899.
Yeah, and built an impressive railway network, over 300 miles of lines. It really paints a picture of an economic powerhouse in the making.
It really does. And this holistic development, it extended deeply into education and human development too, didn't it?
Profoundly. The establishment of the University of Mysore in 1916 was a huge milestone.
Sixth oldest in India, I read.
That's right. Sixth oldest, first in Karnataka, and crucially, the first university established outside of British-controlled territories.
That's a major distinction.
Yeah.
Shows a real commitment to intellectual independence, building homegrown expertise.
Absolutely. It came from the vision of Maharaja Nalvadi Krishnaraja Wadir IV, and Sir M. Visvesvaraya. They spent 5 years researching global university systems before launching it.
So they weren't just copying, they were designing based on best practices.
Exactly. Initially with faculties in arts, science, engineering, and medicine.
And this commitment to education, was it inclusive?
Remarkably so. Their policies were revolutionary for the time, focused on accessibility and equality. For women's education, there was Maharani's School from 1881, later Maharani's College, special provisions for widow education, state-funded schools for girls, and also for marginalized communities.
That's genuinely impressive for that era. Was it difficult to implement these progressive policies, or was the leadership strong enough to push them through?
Well, progress always faces challenges, but the leadership's commitment seems to have been unwavering. They didn't just open doors. They tried to keep people in school. They introduced scholarships, midday meals, practical support.
Smart.
And the Miller Committee in 1918 brought in educational quotas for non-Brahmins to broaden representation. They also actively supported temple entry movements, anti-untouchability efforts, even encouraged intercaste marriages, and funded scholarships specifically for marginalized groups.
Going beyond just formal education, too.
Yes, investing in adult literacy, vocational training, and ensuring government recruitment was merit-based, really fostering development across the board.
This progressive vision clearly touched healthcare as well. They set up a comprehensive network that other states looked to as a model.
Definitely. Major hospitals like Krishna Rajendra Hospital opened in 1927 with over 1,000 beds.
1,000 beds back then.
Huge. And Chaluvamba Hospital in 1939 for maternity and pediatrics, plus the Minto Eye Hospital from 1903, the world's oldest dedicated eye hospital, apparently.
Amazing. And public health initiatives.
Widespread. Vaccination drives for smallpox, plague,
Sure.
modern sewage systems in Bangalore and Mysore, with significant investment over 2.7 million rupees just for sanitation improvements there.
Wow.
But maybe the most pioneering thing was their network of 32 urban primary health centers.
Tell me about those.
Each one staffed with doctors, nurses, support staff, providing essential medical checks, preventive care, health education, even emergency help, right there in the community.
Community healthcare, decades ahead of its time.
Pretty much, reaching people directly where they live.
Okay, so to fuel all this, the governance, industry, education, healthcare, they needed solid infrastructure and finances, right?
Absolutely, and they delivered. The Krishnaraja Sagar Dam, the KRS Dam, finished in 1931, is probably the most famous example.
Another Sir M. Visvevaraya project.
Indeed. Designed during a severe drought, showing incredible commitment to long-term public welfare, to tackling big challenges head-on.
An engineering marvel, I understand.
Truly, it wasn't just big, it had advanced features like automatic sluice gates, and its benefits were huge. Irrigation for vast areas, drinking water for Mysore, Mandya, even Bangalore, hydroelectric power via Shivana Samudra, flood control, just massive integrated planning.
A testament to that long-term vision. And transport networks.
Comprehensive. The Mysore State Railway kept expanding Mysore-Nanjangud line in 1891, Birur-Shimoga in 1899, plus a good road system, even planning ring roads for cities.
And the financial systems underpinning all this.
Very robust. The State Bank of Mysore, founded 1913, again with Visvesvaraya's guidance, anchored a network of public-private cooperative banks. They even offered educational loans.
Educational loans back then.
Yes. And the overall fiscal management under Chamaraja Wadiyar was stunning. Revenue increased dramatically, something like 75% over his reign. They built up a massive surplus, net assets of around 17.6 million rupees. This allowed huge investments, 10 million in irrigation, over 16 million in railways without straining the budget.
It's clear this wasn't just about building things or making money. There was a deep current of social progress.
Absolutely. Mysore really pioneered social justice initiatives that came before India's own constitution tackled them.
Like the Miller Committee reforms.
Exactly, 1918. Introducing reservations for backward castes in education and government jobs, aiming for proportional representation. Plus, actively supporting temple entry, anti-untouchability, encouraging intercaste marriage, providing those targeted scholarships.
A real commitment to breaking down barriers.
It seems so. And their policies for women were, well, remarkably progressive, even by global standards of the time.
You mentioned voting rights earlier.
Yes, women got voting rights in Mysore before many Western countries granted them. And significant female representation in education, in professions like teaching, administration, plus economic support, like widow rehabilitation programs and women's cooperative societies.
Beyond governance and welfare, was there also a focus on culture and arts?
Immense focus. Maharaja Nalvadi Krishnaraja Wadiyar I was famously called Dakshina Bhoja, a title likening him to the legendary patron King Bhoja for his support of the arts. He didn't just fund institutions like the Palace Drama Company. He personally championed artists, musicians, dancers from all over India, made Mysore a vibrant cultural hub.
Institutions, too.
Yes, the Archaeological Survey of Mysore from 1890 to preserve heritage, an Oriental manuscripts library for research, support for traditional crafts, too, like sandalwood carving, Mysore silk weaving.
And was this culturally rich environment also tolerant?
Remarkably so, it appears. The kingdom gave equal support to temples, mosques, churches, celebrated festivals across communities, ensured schools welcomed all faiths. It really fostered an environment of mutual understanding and cultural exchange, quite exemplary.
So let's tie this all together. Looking at the bigger picture, how did this Mysore model feed into post-independence India? What were the key insights?
Well, several key elements provided crucial precedents. The bicameral legislature idea, for instance. The reservation policies certainly informed later national approaches. The whole concept of decentralized governance heavily influenced India's Panchayati Raj system for local self-government, and many public welfare schemes had echoes of Mysore's initiative.
Right.
And maybe just as significant was the transition itself. After independence, Mysore was the first major state to sign the Instrument of Accession, joining India. It showed a genuine commitment to the new democratic republic, a smooth transition rooted in its own democratic experiments. That's a unique part of its legacy.
So bringing it to today, what's the relevance? Does the Mysore model still echo?
I think it does. You can see traces in modern governance practices, things like integrated urban planning, thinking about environmental impact alongside industry, public-private partnerships, perhaps, and institutions endure. The University of Mysore is still highly ranked, 19th nationally among universities today.
Still a center of excellence.
Exactly. And there are efforts now to revive or modernize some of those historical industries, like the Visvesvaraya iron and steel plant or the sandalwood industry, connecting back to that kingdom-era foundation.
Interesting. A lasting impact.
I think the core takeaway, the final thought perhaps, is that the Mysore Kingdom really demonstrated something powerful. It showed that people-centric governance wasn't just an ideal, it was a practical reality that delivered real, tangible benefits. It proved that democracy is more than just voting. It's about creating genuine opportunities for people to participate, ensuring equitable access to resources and justice, and building institutions that truly serve the common good. Its legacy, I believe, still inspires efforts today as we try to build more democratic, just, and prosperous societies in the 21st century.
A powerful legacy indeed. If you decide to travel to Mysore, we have a recommendation. 5 Senses Tours organizes tours to Mysore and across India, which are immersive cultural experiences. You can email contact@5sensetours.com. Note 5 is written as a numeral in contact@5sensetours.com or WhatsApp to +919 845 677 446.